Hiya, I'm Jasper, and welcome to your video review for The Mummy. It's a movie starring Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz, and several other people. So, as always, I'm going to be the good, the bad, and the furry. To start off the furry, there are camels and horses, some snakes, and some scarabs that ooh, man, there are a lot of scarabs. Oh, ooh, okay, so they make an appearance, a lot, so just keep that in mind. Moving on. So the starter premise of this movie is that Rachel Weisz is a bookish librarian, and she has just an obsession with ancient Egypt stuff, and she wants to go find the lost city of Hamunaptra, and the Brendan Fraser. I think this is set shortly after World War One, so they have biplanes, but not much else in terms of aircraft, and they have trains is kind of the main thing, trains, boats, that sort of thing. And he and his maybe French Foreign Legion, kind of unclear. They had gone and they found the city of the dead, and then they'd come back. Not many of them. And he, for reasons that I still find sort of unclear, I feel like they breezed over it. I rewatched that part twice. I'm just kind of like, what? Okay, but anyway, he's about to be executed, and he's like, "Hey, save me, and I will show you where the city is." Okay, cool. So they save him, and then they head out to the city. I'm not going to get too much more into the story to start with, because I don't want to give too many things away, and I feel like that opener is decent enough, and I don't want to reveal much more than that. But yeah, it's what I will say is that it's a good movie. It did come out enough years ago where the CGI is not quite there. There's a couple of times where I'm just like, ooh, that is some rough CGI. But it did come out, I think, far enough ago that you can forgive the level of some of the CGI. The other things that didn't quite meet there is that there was a number of times where the green screen that they were on just didn't quite match. And maybe it's just because I was looking for that, because I wanted to see how well the graphics held up. So maybe if you're not really looking for it, you won't notice the number of we're here in front of a green screen that things are happening in front of. But I felt like there was a few times that. Now, what I will say is that it was never, ever as bad as Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, that kart racing green screen. It was never that bad. It was just that there was it was just more so that the lighting was just off enough that you could just they're not quite actually there doing it. And then some of the animations, like I said, some of the CGI doesn't quite hold up. But in general, the action, the dialogue, the characters, they're all very good. The music works, and the pacing was excellent throughout. I enjoy The Mummy Returns more than this one. Spoiler alert for my review of The Mummy Returns. Stay tuned for that review. But it was still a really fun time, and I think that a lot of things happened in this, and I thought that it was still a fun time today. It's just that, I think that many people will still enjoy this movie, and I think that it is necessary to set up the second movie. What I will say is that for this movie, especially, fuck you, Benny. I fucking hate that character. They did such a good job of making me hate that character, but oh my god, I just want to wring his neck. From moment one when he is introduced, you're like, oh, fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. I don't like him. So yeah, but the fight sequence in this are good, but they are indicative of the time. It's not overly complicated, fast action. It's not. They aren't trying to be super creative with how they shot things. It was just action wise, and the guy that was the main character for trying to keep them from going to the City of the Dead, I really liked him. I thought he did an awesome job. From what I remember many years ago, the trivia is that apparently that actor doesn't like doing action movies. So the fact that he was in this one, it was kind of funny that it's oh, okay, so he's all right. He did a really good job of the action movie. He definitely seems like a badass. He should be in more action movies, but I guess the actor wasn't super into them. But you wouldn't know it from watching this. So again, I think this movie is a lot of fun. So that's kind of the end of my spoiler-free part. I'm going to get into a little bit of spoilers here, so spoiler alert. Especially when looking at The Mummy Returns, it was kind of surprising how much of this movie is just dedicated to so spoiler alert, they get to the City of the Dead, she reads from the Book of the Dead, which brings the mummy to life, and then these guys open this crate and release him. Actually, they open the mummy and release him, but these guys open the crate that held his canopic jars that had his body parts in them, so he has to go, like, basically suck the life from these guys in order to reform himself fully. And it was surprising that how long it took in this movie for him to get fully formed. I didn't remember it taking so long as it did, but it took a while, and they still did a fun time of it. But it was interesting that in this movie, like, all of the different plagues, like the blood turning, or the water turning to blood, and the frogs, and then the people getting all, like, with the blisters and whatnot, and then becoming all zombified, like, all of these things just from him, I didn't remember how powerful of effect his presence was having. So it was kind of fun to relive that and to just see just how scary they made this guy from moment one. And he did a really good job. I think it's played by Billy Zane, maybe. It's hard to tell with his shaved head versus the Titanic haircut he had, but back in that movie. But he did an awesome job in this, and like I said, pretty much everybody did a great job in this. I love Brendan Fraser. This is, I think this or George of the Jungle was probably the first movie that I saw him in, and it still holds up to this day, and I still love watching it. And I love Rachel Weisz. She is a badass, and she was great in this one because they could have gone the Indiana Jones route of just making her, oh no, Indy, or O'Connell, oh, but they didn't. Now, was she, like fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger, like, come and get it, bitches? Like, no, she was not. But she's still, like, she is playing a librarian who has passion for the Egyptian culture, but she is not a weakling by like her fortitude there. So I liked that they still had her, like, it's not like she was some badass fighter chick who could just, like, kick everybody's ass. Like, she still did need O'Connell for some of the, heavy lifting type things, but it's not like she was just the damsel always in distress. She had her contributions to this, both in her expertise, and she did do some fighting in it. And I appreciated that. I think they had the right balance of having her be a badass without overshadowing, like, hey, this is Brendan Fraser being a badass movie. So I thought they did a good job there. But yeah, so that was one of the things that really stood out to me, was how good they did that, and then the scale for, just how much of it was actually shot in the, like, tomb, the mummy tomb interior. I didn't realize how much time they had spent there with fighting off all those individual mummies. But yeah, they spent a lot of time there, and that's where some of the CGI, some of the green screen doesn't quite hold up, but they did a decent job of it. Having a lot of the actors in the mummy like setups for some of the action did, I think, help with that quite a bit. But again, I enjoyed this movie. I think you'll enjoy this movie if you can get over just the little bit dated for some of the CGI and some of the green screen. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you the next one. Bye.